he said something that which really stood out to me, and that is we have a choice to make, and not making a choice is making a choice. It reminds me of something a very good friend of mine said to me recently, actually. He said that avoidance is not detachment.
Mm,
Isn't that interesting? So when we
yeah.
avoid something, we're not claiming that I'm not attached to it. Because if you're avoiding it, clearly there's resistance there. So you're attached to the outcome of whatever responsibility it is.
Yeah. And that's interesting. One way that I've always heard that is avoidance is never a real solution.
Mm. Yeah, same idea.
But yeah, I think in the context of what we're talking about, though, I would dare to say that avoidance is deceitful,
Mm.
in the sense of that we're trying to manipulate reality for a
Yeah.
particular outcome.
Yes. And we don't get away with anything, do we?
No, it all catches up to you one way or another. There are consequences, they are inevitable. You know, it's the old saying, you can choose your actions, but you can't choose your consequences.
Pick your
And so I
poison.
think that, and I think Peterson wrote a rule in his book Beyond Order on, and I don't want to butcher the name, but something to the effect of do not allow yourself to become um, arrogant, resentful, or deceitful.
Mm, okay.
And such a good chapter. And I'm gonna tell you, and it's maybe a little bit too much for the listeners out there, and for what I'm trying to do with myself to sort of build this brand. And now I'm doing air quotes, is
Mm.
that a lot of times when I'm reading Peterson stuff, especially 12 Rules for Life or Beyond Order, is that um, and I'll preface this by saying I'm a very disagreeable person, and I'm really assertive, and so um, this some of this is just my temperament, but so much when he's talking about things, and so much of his work is just calling people out, but in a very intelligent way. Um, I'm thinking, yeah, I know a guy like that. I know someone like that,
Mm.
but occasionally he'll say something and it will piss me off because he's talking about me.
Right. Okay.
I've literally felt my face get hot reading some of his stuff because I'm like,
Right.
man, this I do that. And when I read that about deceit, um, I felt that way, which is
Wow.
interesting because I don't really consider myself a deceitful person,
Mm.
but I found myself, I guess, just really couldn't help in it because I certainly didn't go in intending to read about how deceitful I was. I was just wanting to see what he was saying about it, and let alone what he meant about it, and the way that he described that. And I won't go into too much detail about that. Um, but that's what that made me think of is this attempt to manipulate reality, to manipulate circumstances for a very particular and selfishly motivated outcome. And so
Yeah.
that I don't think avoidance I don't think it's a non-action. I don't think not
Mm.
making a choice is a non-action. I think it's certainly an action. There's certainly a motivation behind that. Um,
Yeah. Totally. And deep, deep down, we really know it. And I think that's why it's so important to practice listening to that voice, to that intuition, and becoming more and more self-aware uh, regarding it. And the fact that you can say that, and to say, there was a part in a book and it made me angry because it sounded like me. It was talking about me. That shows a pretty high level of self-awareness as well, even if it's something that you didn't believe that you had previously. And that's so important for any kind of personal growth or journey. As a man, you need to be supremely self-aware to know exactly where your flaws are, and that way you can actually take the responsibility to grow and improve that aspect of your life, right?
yeah, man, I've heard for such a long time now that open-mindedness is an indispensable principle,
Mm,
and I'm a big believer in that. In that I'm more prone to being closed-minded than I am open-minded, and so where
right.
my efforts need to lie with that spectrum, if you will, is to strive towards open-mindedness.
Yeah.
Um, and so there's no way I'm ever going to comprehend uh, all of the world. There's no way I'm ever going to comprehend all of myself. Um, and so I don't really think that we are at risk of being so open that that we can't. Well, I may want to take that back. I think there's some other things that need to balance that out.
Mm.
But I think generally speaking, at the level that most of us would go with that, that it wouldn't be a bad thing to default to striving to be open minded.
No. Yeah, I don't think so either.